What a beautiful day. Welcome to the second episode of John and Ron show. This is Ron, one of your co-hosts. It's a beautiful day out here. It's not as hot as it was last Saturday, but the wind's keeping us cool. It's probably I would say about 80 degrees, but the wind makes it a little bit cooler than that. So this is Ron, and I'll send it to John real quick.
Hey, and I'm John, and I just want to, we both want to thank everybody that took the time to listen to our first episode. I know there's a lot of podcasts out there that people listen to, and we just want to thank the listeners that took the time out of their day to listen to it. Whoa, I just repeated myself way too much.
Yeah, well, the best thing about this is the fact that we had listeners across the seas. We had a listener in Belgium that we had no clue that would even hear our podcast, which is such a plus and I gotta say a positive enforcement for us that, it reached that far. Even though we only have like so many listeners right now, might be only like 20, 30, 40, that's fine. This is how you build stuff. It's a step-by-step process. But as I was saying, it's a beautiful day out here in the lovely Dover. We're outside again on my little, estates here, maybe like a 2x2 acre if I'm lucky. But anyway, going back to everything, I don't know if you listened to the first episode, a little recap about, a situation with a heroin addict woman, and she was calling the cops and also talking about, our children, our past, and stuff like that. So we kind of want to go back to a certain degree, but we're not going to go back. We're going to kind of, tell the story as time progresses. We were hoping to get more feedback from everyone. And it is what it is. We expect, not the best thing in life right now because we're still, starting. So just sit back and relax and enjoy the show. And if you got any comments or anything, hit us up on Facebook. It's Real Talk Eastern Shore. Just hit us up on Facebook. We'll answer any messages, any comments. We'll even, if you want us to say something, like opinion or, you have a question for us, we will definitely put it on the air and go from there. The biggest thing today, like I will say, everything's been great. I just got my stomach full. I went to the buffet over at Chinese buffet over here in Dover. Really good buffet. I'm really tired. I'm ready to go to bed now. But I want to make this before I go to bed because I enjoy talking. That's part of who I am, what I do.
And you made me drive an hour to do this podcast.
I didn't make you do anything at the end of the day. Like, you told me, this is what you told me. You were like, listen, I would love to do it in Denton one day. But Denton is in Maryland. And I don't think you're allowed in Maryland. If you're not allowed in Maryland, we can't have you go across the border. So you need to just stay in Delaware.
The border.
Yes, the border. I mean, there is a border. You do realize that. I mean, it's not, no offense. It's not like, you're going north to south, to Canada or Mexico. But, I mean, I can ride through the border. I mean, it's an imaginary border. But you know how that goes. Ooh, excuse me. Now I got indigestion. Man, I tell you what, that Chinese food is hidden. And I got my Mountain Dew with me, so I'm good. I mean, we're going to take off here in a minute. And like I said, we appreciate everything you guys, any feedback that you give us, just listening. We do appreciate it more than you could ever imagine.
And we do apologize for any sound issues if there are any. Like he mentioned, we are recording outside, so you may hear a little wind chime here and there, a little truck or vehicle pass by. But we just love recording in the outside. It actually feels really nice.
But it gives it flavor. It's kind of like, it's like that piece of chicken or a piece of, ham or whatever that falls on the ground. Is the 5-second rule, right? You have 5 seconds to pick it up. It's clear, right? Am I wrong? Or, I mean, how does that work? Because in my opinion, like you get a little bit of dirt on it, a little bit of salt, a little pepper, you might have a little bit, catnip, you might have, whatever. They say, I think, is it a ton of dirt or 2 tons of dirt before you demise? I think they said. Or something like that. I mean, it's something like I maybe you need to look that up. You do have we do have computers at the States here. We can sit there and look that up. What they say. It's just like the theory. When you go to sleep, you swallow a spider. Like I think it's like 1 or 2 spiders a year or something like that.
Like 5.
5. Well, let me tell you something. There's a spider in my house. We got problems. Me and the spider are going to fight, plain and simple. He'll probably beat me because like I'm frail anymore. Like I'm fragile. But, I mean, that's just how it goes, what I mean?
Don't worry, you won't see them. You'll eat them in your sleep.
Well, I mean, I guess it tastes good because I'm still fat. It ain't changed, what I mean? Like, my weight has not changed. I mean, I did lose a lot of weight after I stopped bouncing. But, I mean, I feel like I'm healthier to a point. But you're going to be so healthy when you get older, what I mean? You're not going to be like 100%, which I don't think I ever was 100%. But I feel so much better. I feel a little lighter on my feet. I feel like I can run from here to the fridge, not from here to the bed. Stuff like that. So it's a good thing. You know what I mean?
You can walk up the stairs without getting winded.
Man, you're pushing on that one. You know what I mean? Like you're pushing on that one real badly. Because at the end of the day, man, like that's my Achilles heel right there is the cigarette smoking. I gotta stop 100%. Because if not, like it's gonna take me out. Like I gotta stop sooner or later. But I guess that's all in time. But that's gonna be something that I gotta work on, just like anything else.
Me too.
With going back to what we were talking about. Everything was pretty good this week. Not much happened. Every once in a while, you see a couple things, kind of get to you. But I mean, it's just, I guess my biggest question right now would be to everyone, like, why do people hate people so much? Like, why do people want to be so, like, fake to other people? Like, I mean, we're in this world a very, very, very short time. Like, I think the estimate time of being awake and being able to do stuff is approximately, I think, was it 25 years or 30 years? Because you think about it, your first 18, you can't do nothing anyway. You're pretty much sitting there, you're a baby, you become, adolescence, and you're a teenager, and then you grow up to be about 16, 17, 18, you start, finding yourself who you are, you go to school, you're in school, what, 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, and not including the college you might go to afterwards. So, like, when do you have time to hate so much? It makes you wonder why people hate people. And granted, don't get me wrong, like, there's things that people do that makes you might want to hate somebody, but for you to hate somebody so much, to, I guess you'd be conniving to them or being, lie right to them or, keep on, just playing this part. I guess you say being you're my best friend or you're my friend, you're my stuff like that. Like, what do you think drives them to be that way? What do you think makes someone be that way? Is that just something they're learned or taught, or you think it's just the personality, or is that part of their mental health, or what do you think, John?
From what I gather, it's just the way they were brought up here by their parents, and even their parents, the way they were brought up by their grandparents, by their parents. It's all learned activity. The only thing we can do is try to steer try to steer our children in a better direction.
I totally agree. I mean, I think as time progressed, I mean, I was a person, that would sit there and see something and be like, man, I don't believe that, or I would play that game of, oh well, yeah, I'm friends with you, but you're not going, do me over wrong, stuff like that. I was always worried about someone getting me before I get them. More worried about, what's this person going to think of me, or what this person is going to say, or, why is this person hurting me, and hurting me in like the mental or emotional state. And I mean, I did that myself as well, like I did that to some people. I feel bad. I felt bad, about it since, it's all happened, with whoever and whatever. But I mean, I guess, it could be learning. It could also be something from, they see, or, something from, the people they hang out with, or people like, the family members, how they're, perceive everything mentally or emotionally. Um, I mean, I got friends of all races, um, from all kinds of cultures, but at the same time, I grew up in this little town, and, we had a little clique, it just was, 4 or 5 people. They say that you only have 3 to 5 best friends in your life. And, 2 or 3 of them are definitely my best friends, all my life. There was, actually probably 4, probably. But I mean, at this point in juncture, when you get old, you forget like maybe one, or you might add one and not remember. And the bad part is that, like, we were friends, we stuck through thick and thin, and we've lost contact. I mean, we every once in a while, we'll text and stuff. But you see so many people out there that want to do harm to others. They don't care about the emotional and mental aspect. And to be honest with you, and like I said, I've done my share too. I've done a lot of wrong in my life. And I hope to God, at the end of the day, the people that I've done wrong like that, I hope they forgive me. And if they don't, I get it. I totally understand that. And I think everyone's done someone wrong, one way or another. I don't think it's like a clear cut, people are bad because they did this or this and that. Everyone does everyone wrong sooner or later. You know what I mean? I'm not saying like, you if you're friends with somebody, you do them wrong, but I mean, it could be something small. It could be something like, they could be like, hey man, can I have $5 in gas? And you got like $100 on you, like, no, I'm good right now. I don't have much money. It's still doing them wrong though, technically, at the end of the day. Because you're telling them one thing, but you have that money to help them out, but you're not helping them out by choice. Not because you can't, it's because by choice. And I think we have a lot of choices in life that we don't, go forward and go, we can help this person, or we can give a little money here to help this person, or we can, maybe just listen to this person for a little while to make them feel better, or you can, whatever, stuff like that. It means a lot, maybe not like in the scheme of things, how we look at it because it's so small scale, but at the end of the day, we are judged by ourselves. We judge ourselves worse than anyone else can. Class example, it's just like the thought of fat shaming, or that song just came out, was it Victoria's Secret and stuff, about a man, he, this was his idea of a girl or a woman, stuff like that and stuff. But the biggest thing is we got to be better than that in life. We have to sit there and go, okay, we need to help this person. This person needs a little help. Let's help them out. What's worse can happen? You know what I mean? That's the thing that we have to go with. Um, just like a little side story. I mean, it's just like you see someone, broke down on the side of the road. And this is what makes it very difficult. You see people, on the side of the road with their hazards on, and you kind of stop there and stuff like that. And you don't know what you're getting yourself into, because it could be just a tire change. They could be falling asleep. They could be, on drugs. They could be trying to do some, harm to you. And unfortunately, back in society, back in the day, you didn't have to worry about that. You just did what you did. Someone was broke down the side of the road, you go to their car, you had to worry about it. Then they're there for a reason, plain and simple. They're there because something has happened to their car. Now it's so scary because you never know what you're going to encounter, because there's all kind of mental, health issues. You don't know if they're, maybe, they robbed the bank, and they're on the side of the road because something happened to their tire and they're trying to, get in someone else's car, carjacking, and that's the worst part. So,
Well, well, I'm completely different, not different opinion on that, but I actually have a broken down on the side of the road story.
mm-hmm.
When I was driving from Yuma, Arizona to Tucson, Arizona, about 12 years ago, it's a long stretch. It's about a 4-hour drive, and there's a broken down car, and there's middle of nowhere. Interstate 8, 10, I forget. It's been a while. I'm getting old.
Sure,
so there's
sure.
this broken down car, and there's a lady over there, older lady. So I pulled over to see if she needed any help, and she was out of gas. So I'm like, okay, I can take you to the town that we just passed a few miles back. And so she said, oh, thank you. So she got in the car, but she also brought in her dog. So I'm like, oh, not that I have anything against dogs, but I mean, dog was dirty. So I let the dog in the back. She sat in the front. We drove back to the gas station. She got some gas and I took her back to her car, and everything was good. So I mean, it all depends the situation, I should say. That easily could have been something different.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I got a story as well, because I remember I was working for a different company at this point in juncture. They're out of business now, but I was working for the company, and I was driving in the North Dover Cheswold area. That was my route. It was down 13, going down 13 from Cheswold down to Target and back. That's what I delivered to. So it must have been like, it was cold. It was like 30 degrees, 32 degrees, 35 degrees. And it was cold. I'll never forget it, because like I'm in the truck and driving, and I see this girl, and I'm just like, man, you out on the back road for no reason? Why are you back here? I keep on looking, and I don't see no car around. There ain't no car around. I mean, literally. And this is like, I don't know, 2:30 in the afternoon on like maybe like a Wednesday, Thursday. So I'm like, all right, cool, I'm not paying no attention. And she's cold. She's got a t-shirt on. That's it. And a pair of shorts. And I'm thinking, man, I know you cold. You know what I mean? Like, I'm cold. I'm fat. I like the cold. She's sitting there. You can tell she's shivering. So, I pull up. I'm like, you need a ride? She was like, yeah, can you take me to Dover? I'm like, yeah. I was like, where at? She was like, oh, on the south side. I said, like, where on the south side? She's like, near Target. I was like, all right, fine, that's cool. So, we hop in, we're talking, I forget her name. I don't even remember her name. I think she was about 20, I was like 20, should be 27, 26. I think she was around my age. And, we're sitting there BSing. She's telling me about her kids and stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, cool, 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 And I was like, I need to just take her straight to wherever she's got to go. I'll skip my other stuff because I can get that done later. Not a big deal. And I'll just, do whatever. So I'm taking her down the highway. I remember we got to the mall, and I was like, "So where do I need to take you at?" Oh, she was like, just take me, make it left on White Oak, and go down the road a little bit." I'm thinking that's not the best place to be there. I mean, why am I taking you down White Oak? Because I'm not saying it's the worst place, but for Dover, it's probably like one of the more sketchier places. Like you'd be more worried about someone trying to rob you or some other stuff. I'm not saying like it's the worst, but I'm saying it'd be kind of sketchy if you went down there and didn't know where you're at. So like I'm like, all right. She was like, yeah. She was like, I'm gonna go meet my friend. Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, well that's cool. Whatever. And then I remember sitting there and I had my cell phone. This is back when the flip phones were like the best thing in the world. Like if you had a flip phone, you were the man or you were the girl. You know what I mean? Because everyone wanted one. So I remember, we made this left. We go on White Oak. She's like, yeah, just take me down to the last development on the right. And I'm thinking to myself, development? I was like, you mean house development? She was like, no, no, the apartments. And I'm thinking to myself, that's Manchester Square. Manchester Square is not the best place to be, period. Like, I know the area. I've delivered to the area. I wouldn't really leave per se, a package in the front door and walk away and think, it's safe there. Like,
Like they're not getting their package.
but there's a chance that package got legs on it and it's going to run. And that's the deal of it. Plain and simple. And I remember going, you go Manchester Square? She was like, yeah. She was like, yeah, I'm a prostitute. I'm like, oh my god! Like I was completely like boggled. I was like, okay. I was like, I'll let you out at the front of Manchester Square and drop you off.
You became the pimp.
Yes, pretty much. A John, pretty much. You know what I mean? I was one of those. That's what they call it.
Pimp. You're dropping her out.
Yeah, but I ain't getting money out of it. I got no money out of it, so how am I a pimp?
You left.
I left without money. Like, I really broke myself on that one. And I was, like, thinking to myself as I drove off, and I was like, man, look at this person. This person, is an able-willing body, and she literally was in Cheswold on a back road near the railroad tracks, which, if you know anything about Cheswold's gotten bigger since then, but there really wasn't much in Cheswold. It was just pretty much, the town. We were north of town, and that's just fields. So, like, my compassion came above me, but then I was like, I kind of regretted taking her because I was just like, man, this is going to be sketchy. What if she says something, this and that? Because you never know. You don't know what this person's going to say. You don't know what this person's going to do. You don't know what this person's got on them. And that was my first, like, really time that I was kind of like, man, that's crazy. Like, why did I do that? Like, that was completely dumb. But I guess at the same time, I feel good about it because at least she wasn't cold no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She got to where she needs to go. She didn't have no car, which that begs that's another thing that blows my mind. I understand that, the car market right now is so high, but there's so many used cars out there that are selling for like 2-3 grand. Why don't people have cars yet? I understand if you have, you're like, okay, well, I'm saving up, I got money, I want a certain type of car and stuff like that. But there's people out there that have no cars. You got men that have no cars, women have no cars, and when you get a job, it pretty much states, do you have reliable transportation? Mm-hmm. How do you have reliable transportation if you don't have a car? You can't trust, even though you might have a girlfriend that goes to work at 7 o'clock, what happens if she gets sick? What happens if she got to go in early? What happens if, she don't come home that night? You lose your job. Like, I granted, bills are high. That's also another thing. But how can you sit there and not have a vehicle? Like, I don't get it. Like, I see these guys riding in the passenger seat. Now, don't get me wrong. Before, I was just like, yo, they used to call them scrubs back in the day. Now people are like, yo, that's a smart idea because, you ain't got to pay the gas. You know what I mean? But, it just makes no sense. Like, it infuriates the crap out of me seeing some dudes sit in the car and they let their woman gas up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that at all. Like, I mean, maybe it's just my old fashioned ways, but like that infuriates me. Like, dude, that's all you have to do. You're in the passenger side doing absolutely nothing. Get your ass up.
Playing on your
gas up.
phone.
Yeah, playing on your phone. Probably text another girl. Anyway, I mean, yeah,
Hey,
it
you never
is.
know.
You never know. It could be texting his boyfriend, whoever it is,
Right.
whatever it is. But I mean, the thing is, like, it just makes you just think, like, why? Like, I was always taught, and maybe this is the wrong way to feel, but I was always taught the man is supposed to be the breadwinner. I was always taught the man should take care of the woman in that certain way. Even though it's a small certain way, it's just a common courtesy. But I don't see that a lot anymore. I mean, a lot of the older people my age, I see it all the time. But as in like younger, like, we'll say 20, 22, 25, you don't see that hardly. I mean, you see it every once in a while, but you're shocked when you see it. You're like, wow, what just happened? I see that. It's sad though. It's sad. It really is. How I guess you say time has changed, and I mean, don't get me wrong. Everything
Everything's evolving.
there you go. I had it in my mind. I couldn't speak it. Everything evolves, like, and I get that wholeheartedly. But at the same time, like, is that the way we're going? Are we evolving into where the man, and don't get me wrong, women have the rights and they feel that, what a man can do, they can do, and that's fine with me and everything. But I also feel there's a little bit, a common courtesy and decency from a man to do simple things. Put the gas in the car, or, when he's out and about, he should call her and be like, listen, do you want anything, blah, blah. Not, rely on her money. He should rely on his money for them situations. Because at the end of the day, it's two people together and it's a duo. They need to work together. I just don't see that in a lot of these relationships just from the outside looking in. I could be wrong. I mean, what do you think?
Well, like you said, everything is evolving. Back in the day, as you say, not a lot of women had jobs. Women were expected to stay home and take care of the kids and have the man be the breadwinner. And that's not how it is anymore. We evolved as human beings where more and more women are having careers, not just jobs. So, and they can be the breadwinner too.
That's true. I see what you're saying, but also there's a little bit of common courtesy. Like, you don't want to, when you evolve, you don't want to take the premise of the good things out to evolve.
I'm not saying don't pump her gas. I'm not saying sit your butt in the car. You get out of the car and you pump the gas.
Yeah, plain and simple. Like, that's common courtesy. You know what I mean? That's what you're supposed to do. Like, I was always taught that. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to, do the outside work. I was always taught that the man does the outside work, the woman does the inside work. And I know that's not how it goes because there's so much going on inside anymore. You got like 40 kids, man. There's a lot of things that got to happen. You know what I mean?
You got 40 kids.
I might have 40 kids. I don't know what I got right now. Like, I ain't figured it out. But one day I'll figure that out. Maybe we'll do an ancestry test and we'll see how many kids come out. But, I mean, the thing is, like, the things that involve, some things are really good. The fact that, racism is dying slowly. It's going to take a long time. We probably will never see it die. But it's a lot better than where it was, 40, 50 years ago. There's so much, change that goes on, which is understandable. Everything, back in the time, a black and white TV means that you had money. Now, a black and white TV means you're poor. I don't even think they make black and white. Do they make black and white TVs?
They got channels that are black and white, but I don't think they make them anymore.
Do they even have UHF channels anymore?
I couldn't tell you.
Man, I would like to know that. That'd be something I would love to know because maybe I need to look into that. I need to look into, like, if there is UHF channels or just, I think there's still regular channels you can get with like bunny ears or like a tower.
Some people have those.
And that's, I don't even know how I would deal with that now because like everything's so higher technology, laptops, computers, and some of them computers are still behind the times. You got computers back in like 2020 that are behind from where we're at now with 2022, 2-year models. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just like cars, back in the time, cars were, you had the little knob and you push little sticks to make it AC and stuff. Now it's, computerized, you touch a button and everything ACs, your tires, your windows, your car, your hood, your bottom, your floor, just everything seems like it's AC. But it's amazing to me, like the technology has grown from there. And the worst part of that situation is we're still behind, as the United States is behind the technology, because I do believe I want to say Japan and China are way ahead of us, from my understanding. Because you think about it, like we'll just take for instance, you look at the Xboxes and stuff like that. Like they're so technology savvy over there. It's not even funny, you know. This the stuff with your PS4s, your PlayStations and stuff. You know, what was it, Nintendo over here? That was the big thing over here.
Hmm.
That was what was produced in what, Washington, I think, somewhere.
Oh,
I think it was.
I'm not sure.
I want to say it was a Japan company, but it was made in Washington.
Okay.
Stuff like that. So it was still high technology, but not like what you see now. Like you got like your Xbox to do everything. You watch YouTube and watch these channels that who would have thought that Google was such a big deal. Whoever put investments in that was phenomenal, smart, and savvy. Because if someone would have came to me, oh, we're going to do this new thing called the internet, and we're going to make a search engineer thing called Google, I'd have probably laughed at them back then. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you lose your mind. But that's not what happened. Well, see, like, it's funny because I was talking to somebody, I think it was about a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about how we I worked at the bar over in Richland, Maryland, and it's called Days Place, and we were talking about like the highs and lows of it.
Hmm.
And when we were speaking, he was like, when you went in there, it was different for you. I was like, yeah, it was country, stuff like that. I said, and then, they slowly, I mean, they had this one DJ. We won't speak of names, but this one DJ would come in and like he'd have a crowd. And I was like, wow, okay, so this is how like a really busy bar over here in Richmond, Maryland, and the big Caroline County would be. And I'll never forget when thanks, and I'm kind of going off the topic. That's what we usually do here anyway. Um, but it was. I remember we were doing a first Thanksgiving Eve bash, and this was when MySpace was out.
Oh,
Like, what was that? 2010,
MySpace.
2007,
2007.
2007. Well,
I mean, it technically was still out. Yeah, MySpace was popular mid 2000s,
okay, so
early 2000s.
so we'll say 2005, 2006, something like that. So I remember, rest in peace, Lucy. She used to have like this band that would come in on Thanksgiving Eve, and it was just like they just played whatever, and she was just like yeah, I'll make good money that day, blah blah. Well, one of the DJs had this creation in his mind, and I'm thinking to myself when he said it, I was kind of like looking at him a little bit, and I was kind of like, yeah, we'll see. So his creation was he wanted Thanksgiving Eve, and he wanted us to charge at the door, and we were going to charge $5 at the door, and we were going to have three DJs. There was a three DJ night. I'm thinking to myself, man, this might go well, but it's hard to say. So they had this one DJ that's been there. I mean, off and on, periodically. They had this other DJ that had just kind of started,
Hmm.
and then they had this other DJ which he used to work at the rival bar, and he was told that he was playing music not pleasant for the customers there, but his music was dance music, and we decided, okay, well, I'm cool with it. Let's see what happens. What's worse can happen. We may have nobody in there. Now, this was when the country started to die, as I will say, because it was country western bar. They had a karaoke guy that would, do a lot of country and like heavy rock. You might get 20, 30. I mean, I've seen like 40 or 50 people in this bar. Now, from my understanding, I think the occupancy was 74 people without tables. I want to say, could be wrong though. But it's been so long. You know what I mean? It's been so long, I couldn't tell you. So they're sitting there and we're talking, and this guy's like, man, I think this is gonna be big, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I said, we're gonna see. So we started, I looking on MySpace. On MySpace you could see like if someone messed somebody, it would post on the wall. So you could look at message or post on the wall. So I remember, looking at this one guy's page, and I'm seeing messages. I'm like, man, there's a lot of people involved and interested in this. This is before Facebook was big. I remember getting Facebook probably around that time, but it was just like nothing. It was just pretty much a messenger kind of deal. Um, and if it was then, it was not then. It was like a year after I got Facebook. One of the two. I'll call it book based. Let's put it that way. I should not advertise from Facebook. But anyway,
As we'll be doing our advertising on Facebook.
yeah. But I mean, hey man, they're getting free advertising from us. There you go. And that shouldn't happen. We shouldn't get free ad, but we will here and there. But yeah. So I'm sitting there, and this was probably like 2-3 days ahead of time, and I remember talking to the one DJ that set this all up, and I remember he's like, "Yo, this is gonna be epic. This is gonna be huge." I'm thinking, man, like, I don't see it. Like, I can see us getting a crowd, but I can't see it where it's going to be so big, we can't handle it. I'm thinking maybe 80, maybe 90 people. And I remember him telling me, he was like, yo, there's some people from Annapolis coming now. Annapolis originally is like almost an hour away. I mean, it was maybe 45 minutes minimum, but sometimes with traffic, it's going to be an hour or two away, depends. So I remember Lucy coming to me and saying, hey, do you think you're going to need another bouncer that night? I was like, well, I said, I don't know. I was like, it's all on you, but I kind of feel like we might have to. Because, I mean, after you get over like 40, 45 people, like a second bouncer is needed because you're going to run into problems. Like in a place that holds 74 people and you might have 80 people there, now you're packing them in like sardines. Like it's nuts to butts, as they would say. You know what I mean? Pretty much. So I was like, all right, well, I'll be here early, Thanksgiving Eve. We'll see what happens. We'll take it from there. She's like, all right, blah, blah, blah. So I remember getting off early that Thanksgiving Eve. For some reason, I don't know why I got off early. And I was thinking to myself, okay, well, I'm going to go over here, dress myself up a little bit, make myself look good, presentable, at this point in juncture. I'm not caring, but I'm kind of caring. So I remember pulling up, and I'm like, man, there ain't no place to park. I was looking around, man. I was like, man, I gotta go pull over in the field. Now, this is before they built the little shopping center across the street. So you have nothing but like grass and dirt and stuff. So I'm like, man, they must be out early trying to party early and then they go home, early. So I remember walking in and Lucy's running. Like, she's literally running and she's got sweat going on. We're in November, November? Oh, I couldn't remember the date, but it was November something. It was the end of November.
Yeah, it was the day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Thanksgiving. Well, no shit, but I mean, still.
So it's got to be November.
Yeah, November. And I remember her sweating. And I was like, you okay? She said, can you get this beer? Can you get this? Can you get this? Can you get this? And I'm like, yeah, I got you. Can you tap the K, blah, blah, blah. And I remember sitting there and I remember counting. I had like a little moment. And I guess I kind of got like a deer in headlight moment where I just counted everyone there. There was like 75, 80 people already there. And I'm like, oh my God, man, there's going to be way more than this. So, like, I'm thinking to myself, we got to, charge cover because they were going to pay for each DJ. Love Lucy to death, but with money, man, you don't mess with her money. Like, see, that's one thing you don't do. I could see her coming out of the corner of my eye, maybe spin kicking somebody if someone took $1 if they try. And I remember, going, I was like, I guess I'll charge at the door and let's hope everything goes good. So I remember, everyone was in there like, oh, well, we'll pay $5 now. And I was like, man, I didn't have to ask really. They just gave it right away, pretty much. Mm-hmm. So I remember it was so packed in there. I remember that we had in my hand it was $2,250 in my hand that night.
Just from people coming in?
Just from the cover charge walking in. It was so bad. I remember to the point where I couldn't even get through. I stayed outside. If there would have been a fight, it would have been bad. They would have tore that whole place up. And don't get me wrong, there was some heated exchanges here and there, but they were close to the door where I was close enough to be like, hey, man, we can't have this here. We ain't got no room to do nothing. You hit him, you're gonna hit 4 people in behind you. You're gonna start a whole riot in this place. And I remember that night, and I was just like, man, like, sitting there talking about it, I was thinking to myself, man, how did a place that holds 74 people, if you go by the mathematics of all that, that would be approximately, I think it was 450 people that paid cover, and I remember giving cover back to some. They'd walk in and be like, "Oh, I gotta go." I'm like, "What do you mean?" "Oh, so I can't even get to the damn bar."
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I forget who was working with Lucy that night. She brought in somebody, or someone was there and helped her out. But it was to the point. I remember it was just nonstop. Like people taking like 8 to 10 bottles with them, like and just they get 3 mixed drinks and just drink because it was just so packed. And like to this day, like I sit back and think about it, like all my bar days and all the times I bounced and stuff like that. That was one of the best times I ever had. Even though I didn't really, I mean, because there was no conversations. It was all about making money, taking money. You got to go in, you got to go out, you got to leave, whatever. The music was pretty good. We had, the all three of them pretty much, and all three had their own different little styles, so it worked out well. But I remember just, sitting there thinking to myself, man, like, we'll never get this. We'll never have, this much of a crowd just one time by itself and enjoying itself as it was. It was, I mean, like I said, there was like 1 or 2 arguments, and I think the arguments were, I think one dude ran into another guy. Yeah, I guess they had beef anyway, and they didn't like each other too much. But they also, I think, in their mind knew if it was going to come down to blows, there was going to be so many people there that if you're going to start something, you need to start it outside. And see, that was a bad thing back then. We really didn't have, I guess you say, like a bar commission we had to worry about. So there'd be times like they'd be drinking outside in the parking lots, in the car, be on the side, and I mean, it was a wild little bar back then. It was still wild, just recently, until, I'm not saying that they're not wild now, but I'm saying like before I left, it was a little wild there and stuff. I mean, but it was so much more, you could tell the evolution where they were, putting more rules in and stuff like that you had to follow this rule. You can't take your drink out to the parking lot. You can't think. I don't know how many times I've seen people take a drink, walk out the door, get in their car, and roll out. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, oh, don't worry about it. That's fine. That was back when Mary Ann and Lucy owned the bar.
Yeah, they can't do that anymore.
No, because if you did it now, man, well, now you can, I think. I want to say since the pandemic, you got to have, I think it's a special license. You're allowed to take a alcohol beverage home. I know at one point during the pandemic it was. I don't know if that's lighten up or not or what, but I remember because the bars and like restaurants like Applebee's and stuff were losing so much money because I mean I'll never forget going to Green Turtle, and I think it was on a Saturday, probably about 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, and that place it packs up sometimes during the afternoon. I'm the only car in there, and I'm waiting for food to come out to me. And she was like, "Yeah, you're my first people that called." It's like 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. She was like, "Yeah, I haven't had no tips." I felt bad. I mean, I think my food was like $25. I gave her like $20 tip. I felt bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. She's sitting there, working. She's got to deal with the pandemic, and I mean, me and you worked through the pandemic. The deal. I mean, classified. They're saying the pandemic is done, but I've noticed that there's more cases of corona coming out of nowhere. But I mean, which I would love to know the real truth of that one, which we'll never know. Because if it was a bat, me and the bat need to fight. Like for real, that's ridiculous. How that would go. But I mean, you feel bad about that at the end of the day. You had to give her that extra money. But going back to the bar, it's so different now. Like, and this brings it to a headway. Me and John have been thinking about, doing a second podcast on the side about, going to different towns throughout, Delmarva and on this little to Stevensville and on up, and maybe raiding the bars, because a lot of people like to go out once in a while. Is it like a dive bar? Is it a good bar? Do you feel safe in there? Do you feel like they make the right drinks? Do you feel like they're personable? Do you think they're friendly staff? Do you think the people there are friendly? So.
And Ron doesn't drink, so I'll probably be the one drinking all those drinks, telling you that they're okay.
Yes, that's exactly right. He will be drunk. No, we will not promote drinking and podcasting. We will not drink and podcasting, but it's something we could talk about. It'd be something we could do. We could actually probably brought a podcast on the way home if we needed to, and set that up the next day if we need to. Just little things like that. That's something that we're looking into. I mean, this is our start anyway. This is going to be our baby right now that'll be like our toddler, as you per se, as it grows. It's just some things that we like to think about, like any moments like at the bar while you were DJing, or frequent the bar that stands out to you ever.
Yeah. Well, there's always that moment because as you said, it's a country bar.
Mm-hmm.
So one night I remember I was DJing. It was a decent crowd.
Mm-hmm.
People were dancing. It's 1:15 in the morning. Person comes in, goes straight to the DJ booth, and asks for a really old country song,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine. Had he come in at 8 p.m. or at 9 p.m., not at 1:15 in the morning when the dance floor is full,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants to slow it down, doesn't even have a drink in his hand. I tell him, I'm not doing that right now. It's almost closing time. So he walks away, sends his wife. I tell her the same thing. I'm like, what are you doing here? There's people dancing. They're trying to enjoy the rest of the night. Let them. I'm not going to slow it down until it's time to slow down.
Yep. Well, the thing is, like, that's the thing. Like, so say you'll have 50 people in a bar. Not everyone's, I guess music taste is the same, which is understandable.
Right.
But if you have like 20 or 30 people dancing, and for a fact you see other people, nodding their head, or they're moving around, or you can see them, you can feel a vibe. That's probably the best terminology. Every bar has a vibe when you walk in. Like, you can feel like a vibe. You can feel tension. You can feel, if it's exciting, you feel like it's fun. You feel like, all different types of emotion just by, looking around and feeling the vibe. It's not even words. People be surprised. And I remember that night, actually. And to be honest with you, I totally understand. And I agree with you. Like, if I make someone mad because they don't want to hear the song music I'm playing, because technically a DJ's being paid to play to the crowd. Okay, some people say, well, if someone requests a song, you should play it. But it also, if you request a song, it should go with the genre you're playing. If you have people dancing, people want to dance. If they don't want to dance, they're not going to be there. You know what I mean? If they just want to socialize, that's what they'll do, and they'll not even listen to the music. They'll just turn that off and just do whatever. But someone just walks in and thinks they own the spot, and like, yo, this is what I want to listen to, and this is what I'm going to listen to. And when you tell them no, you get pushback,
Mm-hmm.
and then people, well, he said no, blah, blah. Well, it don't matter what this four people feel to a certain degree. You do feel bad for them because you do want to make everyone happy. You got 20, 30 heads in there doing their thing. They're dancing, you're tapping their head, whatever.
And if they're dancing, they're drinking.
Correct.
So that's more money for the bar, which is what I'm there for.
Correct. You're
Or what
there.
I was there.
You're there to make money for the bar. I mean, and that was something I used to always say, back in the time. Like, I'm there for customer service, which is true to a point, because I'm supposed to feel everyone safe. I'm supposed to not judge anybody to a point. I'm supposed to be able to read somebody before they walk in the door. I'm supposed to be able to read somebody even if they're on the other side of the bar, and see their body language going, oh, well, they're about to get in an issue, or they're arguing. I need to go over there immediately and ASAP. And that's part of bar life to a point. Being on the other side, not being in the crowd, but being as part of staff, because the staff has probably the hardest job out there. It's easy to sling drinks. It's harder when you're slinging drinks and you're trying to watch everyone. It's even harder to sling drinks, watch everyone, and then get involved if you got to. And I used to feel bad for the bartenders, and my biggest thing is I didn't want the bartenders involved. Now down, I guess, the last 3 or 4 years, at the end, really didn't have much of a choice, because it was only like one bouncer.
Yeah.
You only had one bouncer, and a lot of times, if I got my hands full, if there's two people, I might be able to contain one, I might be able to contain two, but there's always going to be friends involved. So it's not one-on-one ever. I mean, there's many a nights, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure, down the road, there'll be stories that we talk about, hanging out at the bar at the end, or some stuff that, I'm pretty sure we'll embarrass some people when we tell them, talk about them, but we won't say it right now. But I mean, it's a very difficult, job, because the DJ's job is to bring in the customers, play to the customers' delight, make them move, make them sweat that way, so they can make, the bar makes money, because the more they sweat, the more they drink. But at the same time, you got to be responsible as a bartender of how much you give them, because there is things called, over serving. And some places are a lot more stricter than others. Caroline County used to be, I guess you could say, wasn't as strict, but got really strict the last like 5 years. And I don't drink. That's the thing. Like drinking, I haven't. I have. If you want to say go out to party and drink, the last time I did that was probably I don't know. I was probably 22, 21. I was drinking way before then, man. I got high and drank and run around the back roads and do whatever, did some, things that, maybe not the best things in the world, but I mean, I had fun. It just wasn't worth it. And plus, I mean, that'll be another story for another time, some of the reasons on why I don't drink. It's not just because of that, but there's other things involved that, I really shouldn't touch today. Maybe at another time, it'll be a story, or a little story time as we always go with. But that's something, I just, I can, drive and go to a bar and be happy just sitting there and feeling the vibe. If the vibe's good, and I'm cool sitting there for hours. If not, I'm not cool. I'm not happy. I'm gonna leave. I don't feel comfortable. And I mean, Day's Place was a bar that a lot of times you felt comfortable, and other times it was kind of like intense, and you knew when something was about to break off. Like within 20, you'd be like, something's going to happen next minute, and sure enough, it would happen. And I'll be honest with you, this is shout out to my bouncers that's been there, that were there, Ben, Mike, and Mike, and Danny, and John did a couple bouncing things for me. There was
Chuck Norris.
Chris, yeah, Chuck Norris, we used to call him. You know, just great times. Just I'm blessed to have those times and memories, and I can sit there and talk about them, and don't have to worry about saying this was a bad day here or this was a bad day. I mean, there were some days that we went to war. Like it was like a war. It felt like it to me, but maybe it wasn't war. It was just so much going on. And when you get older, you sit back and think about like, why did I do that? Like, was that the right decision? Because I used to come home and be like, man, I don't know if I made the right decision. Now I'd be like, yeah, I made the right decision. Or if I did something like I had to do physical with somebody, I would be like, I'd feel bad about it, because I don't want to put my hands on another man. Like I'm in a bar, and I used to hate having wrestle with people and throw them out, and sometimes being a little bit more, I guess you say, belligerent, more cocky than them sometimes, and sometimes they spoke to peace, and I didn't say nothing. I just let them speak, and it was done and over with. I mean, it is what it is. That's how it goes. Sometimes you get the good and the bad, But overall, I mean, it was good times. So I mean, definitely so.
Yeah, and you're right. And no matter how bad certain nights felt, there were some good nights over there.
Yeah.
Even when we had a big crowd, and you can see that the moment someone entered, you thought they were there to start a fight.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
And thankfully, some of those times it didn't. But remember that time you had 9 people on you?
Yeah, that was good times. Like when it happened, it wasn't a good time. But when it all got said and done, like you'd be surprised, like who will actually jump on your side that you didn't think would be on your side when you're dealing with situations. So the respect factor over to that bar of them, the locals taking care of the bar was astronomical. There was times that I didn't think this person would like me, and maybe they didn't like me, but at that point juncture, they took up. They took up for me, or they would sit there and make sure nothing happened, or they'd keep an eye on me when I was by myself and there'd be 120 people in there, or they would sit there and be like, hey, this person's doing this, you better take care of that. Um, that was very I'm very grateful and gracious the fact that so many people out there that I didn't know, like I said, didn't know if they were on my side or not, but they stood up for Lucy, because the respect factor for Lucy for me is there's no words I can put together to make it sound correct, because that woman I loved, dearly, because she was good to me, and I would have done anything. And that's a lot of reasons why, I stayed there. That was a lot of reasons why I took no pay for almost 2 years.
Mm.
I stayed with her because my thing was, I mean, don't get me wrong, I thought about it. I said, man, why am I coming over here for 2, 3 people? She ain't gonna pay me. But at the end of the day, man, like, she was so good to me, like, in other ways, I mean, like I said, in the first podcast, being there 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning, cross-eyed and everything. But at the end of the day, like, she needed the vent, I needed the vent, and we would talk. She knew my situation when I was, going through the rough spell. She took care of me, took care of me more than anybody will ever imagine, and I would willing to be telling people because she was that type of person. She didn't want her business out like that. She was very private to a certain degree. She didn't want no one know about any kind of like financial. She didn't want to know nothing. Everyone know her business like that. So I will never spread her business out like that. But at the same time, she also knows it was dead that time for like 2 years. So like it's not like it was quiet. Everyone knew Dave's place wasn't the place to go. It was pretty much going. I think they were going. I want to say they were going to the Turtle in Easton a lot.
The
And
Turtle?
was it the Turtle? What was that place we went to? Me, you, and Jim.
Oh, the barn.
The barn. Yeah, that's what happened. The barn just opened, I think.
Yeah.
And like people were going over there, and they were going like over to the beach area and stuff like that. And we were losing a lot of customers, and I remember that. And I remember, I remember many a time she's like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, and I'm just like, you do what you can do, do the best you can. That's all you can do. And
But she kept the doors open.
I still don't know how she did that. Well,
Yeah.
she dove under many a tables a night to get pennies. Trust me, I've seen her dive underneath a table for a quarter before one night, and I laughed at her so much. And I remember her sitting there scraping them up, literally scraping them up, and putting them back in so she could put it in the bank so she could cash them in. And I'm thinking to myself, Lucy, what are you doing? Like these are quarters. It was and don't get me wrong, a quarter's a quarter. Like 20's a 20, but you only make $2.50. It is a drink, but at the same time, like you're not going to drink it. Well, maybe someone else will, but I mean, yeah. But I mean, I guess it paid for someone else. That's maybe the best way to look at it. But overall, man, like that, there's so many funny stories I got from the bar and good times, and it made a lot of sense when it all, when she demised, why it was time to go anyway. Even though I wasn't invited back, I probably still wouldn't have gone back anyway. I mean, I know they reached out to you, and you were pretty much like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can totally
Because it wasn't the same without Lucy there.
no, it will never be the same. In my
Yeah.
opinion, no offense to whoever works it now, but it will never be the same.
Right.
That's just one of a kind, and you'll never meet anybody like that in your life because people like that are one of a kind, But anyway, let's get back to where we're going. I see that we have been going for a little bit longer than what I thought we were. So that's fine. It is what it is. So I do want to say thank you to everyone out there. We know this is our second podcast, second episode. It's going to take time. Hopefully, we get fire. We start,
Keep growing.
keep growing. Like we're looking into like the bar thing. Soon we're gonna have a stationary logo that's gonna be ours. We're gonna probably do like an online store where we for shirts, hats. I mean, who knows? We might have underwear, thongs, whatever. If that happens, please contact us. We can definitely use a catalog for that catalog model because I don't think I look good in thongs. But the thing is, like, overall, it's been a great day. It's beautiful out here. Every day you cherish the days because you never know when it's your last day. Overall, be happy where you're at, and be happy who you with, who you are, because like I said, at the end of the day, man, you never know when that chapter will close. Any last words?
Going with you saying be happy with who you are, just honestly, just treat others the way you want to be treated. You learned that as a kid. Use it as an adult.
That's a good saying. I mean, I guess it's that's funny because at the same time, like you find people that treat you the same way you treat them, but probably like 50% of them don't treat you that way.
Yeah. Well, then you don't have to hang out with them.
Well, you just don't have to talk to them.
Yeah, you don't have to talk to them.
You just close the book and be like, write them all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because sooner or later there will be someone else to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Their name is Ron and John.
Yep, we're right here.
And I'll tell you, sooner or later, hopefully, we get messages, and we get it. People are trying, put their finger on what we're doing and stuff like that, and trying to understand what we're doing. And I totally understand that it's going to take time. We're going to take our time. This is not going to go away. We're not going to go away. unless someone calls us from the higher power. But until then, until next week on the beautiful Saturday that we always record in the middle of a porch, and we're sitting back on couches and got a table in front of us. This is from Ron. This is from John. Enjoy your weekend. Have a good night.